Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today's video is about player instructions. I'm going to try and explain what they do and when you might want to use them. Also, guys, before we get into the video, I've noticed that 80% of you guys that are watching the videos aren't hitting the subscribe button, so please do that. It is free. Let's get into the video. So, player instructions. Very, very, very underused parts of the game, but very, very effective if used right. The first thing I would say at the start of this video is, if you're wanting to build a tactic and you're wanting to put in player instructions, you first need to know exactly how you guys want to play. Even if it's 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 5 seasons down the line, you need to know how you want to play, because if not, what you're going to be doing is you're going to put a tactic together that you have no idea what's going to happen, and then you're just going to put player instructions on and it's just going to muddle everything up. You're going to end up losing, getting sacked, etc. There's going to be no cohesive unit. So this is my save offline. I just play this in my spare time, like for videos and just in general when I'm watching football or whatever. But I'm Palmer. I'm in the second season. We're in March, and right now we are 4th in the league. I'm not expecting to be 4th at the end of the season. I would say we're overachieving slightly. I think 6th is about fair. Maybe Atalanta and Napoli will get in front of us. But we are 4th at the moment. I haven't used this exact system all season. Beforehand, it was Baldanza here was in attacking midfield. And my strikers, Bonnie and Colombo, who's now injured, was a complete striker, complete forward on attack, right? But I signed Colombo for 9.5 million. It was a good chunk of my budget, and he hasn't performed, as you can see. 4 goals in 17 Serie A starts. And then Bonnie, who I had in Serie B, he's only scored 7 goals in 13 starts. To be fair, that's not too bad. But I don't know. I just feel like he's not good enough. I don't know what it is about him. He's inconsistent. Serie A, I think you need better if you wanted to be in the Champions League spots. So Baldanzi is now our false 9. I'm going to show you this guy. Now, Empoli got relegated, and I signed him for 9 million. The reason why I'm showing you the players is because I'm going to explain why I chose to do what I chose to do. So, if you look at him, I was thinking to myself, I haven't got a guy that's going to lead the line and I'm going to be confident that he's going to score. And what I did notice was, if you look at Warder, my left winger, 7 goals. Petkov, my right winger, 4 goals. My midfielders, well, especially my Volante, 5 goals. My other right winger on the backup, Palestri, you can't see him, he's just behind my camera, he's got 7 goals. Gullikson, my backup left winger, 5 goals. So all my goals are quite spread out. There's not really anybody that's got like 25 and then the next person's got 6. They're all quite spread out. So what I thought is why don't I get those 3 attacking midfielders more into the game? So I put Baldanzi as false 9. I put Baldanzi as a false 9 because he has runs with ball often, right? And what I want is this guy dropping into these areas, and I want these 3 here going past him. At the very least, I want these 2 going past him. Now, Warder sometimes does go on to attack if I'm struggling a little bit or I haven't got enough bodies in the box. He goes on to attack. But I'm just going to let you know what player instructions I've put onto my tactic first, and then I'll go through a few others and why you might want to use them, right? So I thought the best thing to do is show you guys exactly what I have and my thought process behind it. And then it might make you guys think a bit differently when you're going to use them. Because like I said at the start of the video, you need a plan. You need a plan for each player. What you want them to do on the ball, what you want them to do off the ball, and what you want them to do together in conjunction with each other. So, I'm going to start at the top end, and I'm going to start with the false 9 of Baldanzi. He's perfect for this role because he's fantastically creative. He can also finish, good dribbler, good off the ball, good vision. He's fast, he's agile. He is perfectly false 9. Right, he is. It's his best role as a striker, is what I'm getting told. Now, I was going to use a deep line forward, but he isn't strong enough to hold the ball up. False 9s don't hold the ball up. They sort of drop deep, turn and dribble. Deep line forwards are more like Olivier Giroud, right? So it's a bit of a different. This guy's 5'7", not very strong. He's a bit of a he's more messy than Giroud, right? So I thought this guy's going to be perfect for false 9, so I thought, let's try that. Another thing I noticed is he was coming deep, but he was coming directly into Topolovic's spot. So what I did is I put on Rome from position. Now, because he's a clever guy, and he's got 15 off the ball, good decision making, decent teamwork to be fair, is what I find is he actually drops into pockets now where other players aren't. He's clever enough to do that. And then what I've done with Topolovic to try and make him go beyond the false 9 is I've put gets further forward on his play instructions, right? And that led to this goal last game. So I'm going to move myself over this side so you guys can see. I'm going to highlight Baldanza here. And I'm going to highlight Topalovic wherever he is. Where's Topalovic? Oh, he's there. Okay. So I'm going to highlight Baldanzi and Topalovic, right? We can see them both. This guy's gone short to get the throw in because he's a playmaker. Now I'm going to hit play, and you guys are going to see exactly what happens with those instructions I've just told you, right? So Baldanzi's sort of like occupying this centre back. He can't get the ball at the minute, but now he's dropping deeper. Can you see now he's coming short, yeah? So he drops into these pockets here, right? Now Topalovic is over here from the throw-in. He passes the ball back because he realises he can't do much with it. That's fine. And you see Topalovic here. They're sort of like not in each other's way anymore. Before, what would happen is Baldanzi would come deep and Topalovic would be in here. So he'd sort of like get pushed back and then some would get pushed back and it was just squashed up. So now what's happening is both occupying different areas. So it goes back to Som, and then it's a great pass by him, to be fair. He knocks it round the corner, and Baldanzi's here, right? He's come deep. The centre-backs can't come and get it. There's 3 centre-backs. They can't come and get it. Now he's occupying their defensive midfielder. He gets the ball, and because he's fantastic technically, watch what he does next. He turns perfectly, and he sees Topalovic running in between this gap. And because he's an absolutely brilliant creative player, perfect weighted ball, and Topalovic with a fantastic finish. And when I saw that last game, I was really, really happy because my changes made a massive difference. At the start of that game, Baldanzi started in attacking midfield. I switched that up because I wasn't getting much luck. Can you see? I had to sub Bonnie off. I've been doing that in a few games, and right now I've made it so it's like a permanent fixture in my team. I've been doing it a couple of games, and it's been doing really well. I've sort of introduced it from like the 65th minute onwards, just to see what it looks like, and it's been working. So now I'm fully transitioning to that at the start of the game because I feel like it's really working. But I just wanted to show you that little part of the game because that is something that I automatically changed and something that I saw an instant difference to the team in the build-up. So back to our tactic. We explained the front two, sort of the front two of the front four anyway. Petkov is a guy that, to be fair, I didn't switch it back. I usually have this guy on stay wider. And the reason why I have him stay wider is because my Volante goes up the pitch. I don't know why that's not on there. I'm really not sure. It should be. He should have stay wider on there. I don't know if I've messed around with it before the video. I can't remember. But he should have stay wider on. Maybe I've just been doing it in-game because I forgot. But this guy's been staying wider. He's been holding our width because our inverted fullback doesn't provide anything from this guy. Doesn't provide anything up there. He literally is part of the back three because Alex Valla here is literally a guy that just bombs up the pitch all game. Think Dani Alves under Pep's Barcelona, but left-hand side, right? That is what Alex Valla does. I've even got looks for overlap on the left, right? Because if any point we can, this guy gets in behind. He's absolutely amazing. He's just got injured, unfortunately, before we play second place AC Milan, which is fine, but he's very, very good. He's a good dribbler. He's physically very good, and he's got 5 assists in 27 games, and he provides really good width for us. And as you can see, I also have stay wider on this guy. So there's a bit of a plan of what I've got, right? Because I'm starting from the front, and what I've asked my false 9 to drop deep, and then what does that mean for the rest of the team? That means that Topalovic now is going to have to find different spaces. So what I've done is I've made him go beyond Baldanzi. I now know that I've got a Segundo Volante behind that to to go into the gap that Topalovic is going to leave. He's going to go into that gap now, up here. And Petkovic is keeping the width on this side. So I don't want this guy coming inside and getting trapped with Folarunsho, right? I don't want it all to be so crammed and we haven't got anything, because that would be fine if I had a right back who was just going to bomb down the same side as Valla. That'd be fine. Because then Petkov would be vacating the space for him to go, and then I'd probably change him to something else, right? Maybe I'd change him to a ball winner, or I don't know, Anchorman, or something like that. Something that doesn't get involved and hurt the space for these guys. So, like I said, you have to have a plan of what you want to do, and this is what I want to do. This guy's on support, Warder. He's on support because I don't want him getting... Sometimes he gets beyond, but I don't want him to always do it. I want him to sort of come into this little pocket here, and then these guys can give him the ball, and then Valla makes that run outside. So what I'm doing is I'm creating space everywhere on the pitch, right? It's just something you have to consider before you're making a tactic. I don't think it's possible. I mean, it is possible, obviously. You can download tactics and stuff like that. But if you want to play the game how I play the game, which is I make my own tactics, I like to put my own things together so it's more of a sense of an achievement. You can play however you guys want. But if you do like the sound of that, what I would recommend is thinking about how every single role goes together, because it's absolutely vital. Now, my team is only about, I think we're like the 13th or 11th best team, 13th best team. So we are overachieving. And I think that is due in part to my tactics, right? I don't think we have the players, clearly, because we've got the 13th best team, to be doing as good as we are. So another thing I sometimes do, and I don't always do this, there's some things I do in games, so I'm going to let you know why I do them and what I do. So sometimes if I see Alex Valler bombing down this wing, which he does every single match, and sometimes what I notice is that they keep their right winger on attack, and he stays up there, and he sort of does what Salah does, right? Now, Salah does press, but he doesn't really track back that much because he's needed on the transition and on the right-hand side. So if that happens, I don't want to alter my game plan to the point where I want to keep Valler back because that's restricting my strength. I still want him to go forward, but what I sometimes do is I click on Sakate and I click Stay Wider. So when we're in possession of the ball, because that is an in-possession instruction, can you see there? It says when team has the ball, when player has the ball, and when opposition has the ball. They're quite interesting for you guys to look at because some people think that is stay wider when they have the ball. It isn't. It's stay wider when we have the ball. And because we're sort of trying to build possession in this tactic, because we've got a false nine and an advanced playmaker, I want people to hold the ball quite a lot. What happens is when we're on the ball, Valler will go up the pitch. Sakate will sort of like drop into this role. Think like Gabriel for Arsenal in real life when Zinchenko inverts or Tomiyasu inverts. Sakate sort of comes out into that little channel, the left-hand side. He's not left-footed, unfortunately. At some point, I want a left-footer there. And what happens is, because he's already out there when we have the ball, if we lose it, he's closer to their right winger, right? So it's a bit of a workaround because I don't want to just all of a sudden change Valler to a full-back support and have him sat back because that is me having been dictated to by the other team. Now, if you've got a really weak team, and you're playing against a really strong team, you might want to do that. But it's just something you guys should just think about, right? So that is pretty much how I deal with my tactic, and that's how it plays. So we're quite possession-based. Sometimes I have Simon Soam as a halfback, so he drops in there and it pushes Sakate even further out. It depends on what's happening in the game. So if I think we're struggling in the build-up, I will put Simon Soam as a halfback to try and get the ball forward with a bit more, a little bit more oomph, right? I don't want us to just pass it around for the sake of it. I do want possession, but I want possession with a plan and possession with incision, right? I don't want to just be like 80% possession, 4 shots. I'll take 60% possession and 15 shots and 3 good chances, right? So that is the idea behind this tactic. Before you start building one, I'm going to say it again because it is the most important part of this video. Have a plan. Please have a plan. And if you don't know what a plan should be, have a read about like what teams you like watching in real life or what they do or philosophies and stuff like that. Maybe buy one of the great books like Inverting the Pyramid. That's a great book to read if you guys want to read up on tactics and things like that. It'll just get your mind going. And it's very good for building tactics, things like that, because you get to because FM is quite realistic, especially with these new age roles like inverted fullback, inverted wingback, volontaries, and it's very, very advanced Football Manager now. And I can only see that going even bigger in FM25. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stop waffling about my tactic and I'm going to talk to you guys about the things that are available if so you choose to build them and put them into yours. So we're going to start with keeper, and there's not much you can do with the keeper, to be totally honest. If you change it to support, it just automatically puts on take more risks. You can make him tackle hard. I don't know why you'd want to do that. I think support duty, attack duty on Superkeeper has him to dribble more. Do you really want him to do that? Again, there's not much you can do. It's just a goalkeeper. So I thought I'd cover that at the start. There's not much you can do. So, inverted fullback. Now, at the start of this season, this guy was a fullback on support, and he was sort of in no man's land, I'll call it, right? He wasn't really getting up that much to support him, and he wasn't really defending. He was sort of caught here, and he was doing nothing. So I thought, do you know what? I've got a really attacking guy on this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these new roles, because I did want to use one of the new roles anyway, just to see how it worked. But I thought this is a perfect time, because if I show you Del Prato, he's very good defensively. He's okay going forward, but he's actually a natural centre-back too. So I thought this is perfect. It's like my Ben White, right? That's literally what he is. So now what happens is we are much better defensively. Since I started using that, as you can see here, we lost 3-2, lost 2-1, conceded 2 there, conceded 3 there, conceded 4 there, 2 there, 1 there, hardly any clean sheets. And then around, I don't know when we started doing it, I think it was around this area, maybe around January time, there's just a lot less goals conceded. Yeah, we conceded 4 in the cup, but that was the weakish team that. Not fully weak, but it was like half rotated, and Fiorentina are really good anyway. But we've conceded a lot less goals. It's still not as much as I'd like to concede. I'd like to concede a lot less. But at the start of the season, we were conceding average 2 a game, 4 there, and it was just annoying me. So changing this guy to an inverted fullback has definitely helped. So when you click on that, he automatically has hold position and stay narrower, right? You can't do anything about that. That's just there, and that's what you want him to do. But there's other things you can do. If he's on the ball, sometimes if I want him to, I can make him run wide with the ball. So when he has the ball, he'll run wide. If I want him to get the ball to Ratkov a bit more, I'll make him run with the ball wide. He'll whack it down the wing, but then he'll also hold position. So he'll do that, and then he'll sit. So don't think just because you can run wide with the ball, that I mean he's all of a sudden Hakimi, and he'll be up the other side. Now he might do that, but he's got hold position. So once he's let go of it, because this is when player has the ball, once he's let go of it and it's left his foot, now that changes to when team has the ball, right? And because Ratkov has it, or someone else in that right channel. So now he'll hold position, because that is his freedom of movement, his hold position. And it requires a player to remain largely in their assigned position and rarely deviate from it. So you've just got to think about, when you're looking at these, what you want each one to do. And that's, sometimes I do put that on. Runs wide with ball, that's why I referenced it. But there's other things you can do. Again, I don't know why you do this, but you can make him cut inside with the ball if you've got a really good dribbler, maybe a midfielder at fullback. You can also make him trigger press more if you want, if you find that their wingers getting the ball with too much space, or your guy's not quick enough out there. You can mark tight as well. 2 things to consider when you're changing player instructions, though, is especially if you're doing it to sort of combat the opposition. First thing to consider is what you want to do to combat what they're doing. And second of all is, when you're giving one of your players an instruction, make sure that they can actually carry it out. So for example, Valor. This guy has got, to be fair, he's got 12 marking, but wing backs usually have less marking, or they don't have as good marking as they could do. So it's easily done, and what I've seen people do is they'll go into a game, they'll play against a good team, they'll have a really good winger on the left-hand side or the right-hand side or whatever, and they'll be like, right, my fullback is nowhere near, I'm going to make him press more and I'm going to make him tight mark more. But by making him tight mark, you have actually made it worse, because he has only 10 marking or 11 marking. And that winger, that world-class winger you want him to stop, he has 16 off the ball, and he has ridiculous decision-making, anticipation, and dribbling. So, yeah, it's not just a situation of, right, now he's been marked tight. Nah, because if he's only got 10 marking, like I said, or 11 or whatever, and this guy's elite, like we're thinking Salah, Vinny Jr., Kvaratskhelia, if they have the ball, it's not as simple as just marking tight. Because you're marking tight, and that's actually really good for them. They want that. They want a guy right up their ass, because they will literally just play one back, in behind, and this guy's got 10 marking and he's struggling. So you have to consider both those things. What you're wanting to do to stop it, and the players that you're giving the instructions to, because they might not be able to do it. So I'm going to move on to the centre-backs, and we're going to go look at their play instructions. I don't really touch them, apart from, like I said, if I want Serkati to stay wider. Making them press more often is fine if you're doing it as a whole team. I wouldn't just advise making your centre-backs just press more and everyone else press normally, because they'll just be out of position. A good thing you can sometimes do is make them trigger press less often if you're wanting to make more of a counter-attacking system. Making your centre-backs press less often can keep them in shape, which is really nice. Sometimes when I'm seeing out a game, I put my defenders on trigger press less often. And I also make them hold position. So if we're like 2-0 up in the 10 minutes left, sometimes what I'll do to Alex Valor is I'll make him a fullback on support. And as you notice there, the hold position becomes available, and I'll just click that, right? He still stays wider. He just doesn't really run with the ball and look for the overlap. Sometimes what I'll do on Soam as well is I'll just click hold position. I have it on for the start at the moment because I'm just trialing it. I'm just going to see if me having this guy on hold position is sort of the perfect difference between him being too far up sometimes, which is what he is, and me having him as a halfback. I'm hoping that might be a happy medium, having him on hold position, right? So he's not too far away because he's on support, DM support, but he's also not cluttering up the space at centre back, being a halfback. So I thought, I'm going to try that. Don't know how it's going to get on at the moment, but I'm going to try it. But yeah, so that's the centre backs. There's not much. I mean, also what you can do with centre backs is you can make them pass it a bit longer. I have my team plays short passing, so I obviously take more risks, but ball playing centre backs just take more risks anyway. So that if you want to do that, you might as well just have them on a ball playing defender. That is basically all that is. It's just central defender, but with takes more risks, and they dribble with it a bit more, right? We'll hop into DM. There's a few things you can go and do in DM. We're going to go into the Segundo Volante one. Obviously, a Segundo Volante on attack gets further forward anyway, but on support, he sort of starts a bit deeper, but he's not as aggressive. So if I wanted him to be aggressive, I could do that. All that does is the difference between Segundo Volante attack and the Segundo Volante support with that on, the difference is here. It's the mentality. You see how it says positive? So if I switch it to attack, that will change, right? It'll go to attack, and it'll go to very attacking. So what that means is, on the pitch, he'll be more aggressive. So he'll make more runs, he'll make more through balls, and he'll be more risky, right? The higher their mentality, the more risky they are, essentially, the more higher up the pitch. So what you can do there to negate that is if you're playing a Segundo Volante attack, and you're realising that he's going a bit too far forward, a bit too quick, what you can do is you can put him on support. He'll be a little bit more cautious, but when the team has the ball, he'll still get forward. So it's a bit of a best of both worlds. Sometimes I like to do that, and the biggest example of that is this one here. Now, I don't use it in mine because I don't need to, but this is a little bit of a... I don't know if we're going to call it a hack, but it's something that's quite unknown. So if I move this guy back to left midfield, right? And a lot of people like to use left wingers, but they don't like to use left midfielders because they can't use inside forward, right? But if you play them as wide midfield on either, I think it's support or attack, I think it's support. Wide midfield or support is the most customizable role on the entirety of the game. And I'll show you why. Everything, and I mean absolutely everything, is open to be customized. If I go on to defend, you can no longer click that. You have to hold position. He has to cross from deep, and he has to take fewer risks. If I go to attack, he has to get further forward. I can't unclick it. I can't make him hold position. But the wide midfielder support is fully customizable. So you can turn a wide midfielder support into inside forward pretty easily. If you want, you can make him sit narrower. If you want him to just, like I said, sit narrower. But if you want him to start wider and cut inside, you just click stay wider. You can make him run from position. You can make him cut inside, run with ball more often. You make him cross less often. And all of a sudden, you have an inside forward, right? Just starts a bit deeper and he'll defend more. So if you're playing a 4-4-2 and you're thinking you're playing a 4-2-4, for example, if you're playing two centre midfielders, two attacking midfielders, left and right, and you realise that you're conceding a bit too many goals, what you might want to do is you might want to drop those two wingers back, especially away from home maybe, or in the Champions League, or wherever you are, against bigger teams, and you can just customise this role here, and literally now you've got an inside forward. Because look, if you put an inside forward, which is what I've got up here, he has dribbles more, cuts inside with ball, takes more risk, cross less often, gets further forward, right? You can put all them on from down here. So people will be watching this video now, be thinking, well, why would you ever use an inside forward support role, right? Now, the reason why you would use an inside forward at left midfield and right wing, left wing and right wing, is because they'll be higher up the pitch to press, right? That's why I mentioned before, if you're a team that's maybe not as good, or you're conceding too many goals away from home, you don't want to be as gung-ho in your pressing. It is much easier to get high press going with guys up here, but they will do more defending in around this area and help your fullbacks out against bigger teams if they're further back. So that's the reason why. If you're wanting a high press, which I've got a high press, that's why I have him up here. If I ever want to go to a mid-block, which is what I might do against AC Milan, I might drop these two back and I might just take the high press off to a mid-block, and then I've got an inside forward, but from deeper. Topalovic in here has now got get further forward, but I'm also going to try in the next couple of games, maybe not against Milan, But I'm going to just have a little mess about with moves into channels and runs from position and just see what different things that does. Now, I know what they do. So moves into channels just pulls into vertical spaces between central defenders and fullbacks, right? It's a bit Mazzalery. And run from position is he'll just try and find pockets anywhere. Whether that's wide, whether that's deep, whether that's going long. So I know what they do, but I don't know what they'll do in regards to the rest of the team. Because obviously there's another 10 players on the pitch as well as Topolovic, right? And every single instruction that you guys put on, either team instruction or player instruction, they all impact the other 10 players, obviously, right? But I think people forget that often. It's like, I'll have people come into my Twitch stream and they'll say, what's the best role for a striker? There is no such thing. Now, there's some that are better just as a baseline, like advanced forward's always been really overpowered. This year it's less overpowered because there's less long through balls over the top. But in this system, for me, false nine is the best, right? But I can't say to that guy who comes into my chat, false nine, because someone else in the chat has got 40 goals from a complete forward in his system, because that's what works in his system. So there's no such thing as that. It's football, it's fluid, things can change, different players you're playing against, different teams, different style of managers, so many variables. So a lot of these are changed in-game for me. What I do is I play on extended highlights, and every so often I just click and pause the game, especially when I'm building a tactic and I'm not used to it yet, and I'm changing something. I'll just keep pausing it and having a look where we are in different phases, where we are when we've got the ball at the back, where we are when the ball in midfield, and where we are when the ball in up front. And also, when we lose the ball, where are we? And also, when they have possession, where are we? So I always have a look at those things and see what I can do to sort of negate the weaknesses in my team and accentuate the strengths, right? On stream, it's harder to do, and I sort of try and do it on the fly in my head quicker. It's why I perform best. I think every streamer, every content creator does do better offline when you can put a bit more focus into it, because obviously you're talking to people, or right now I might miss something because I'm making sure I get my words out clear and concise for you guys. So if I do miss something, please put it in the comment section below. I don't want this video to be too long. I just sort of wanted to touch upon the player instructions and what they do and what you should be thinking about, because like I said before, I always want you guys to be thinking about what you want to do. Don't just mindlessly click all these instructions and then be like, I'm losing. Is your guy good at crossing at left wing back? Is he a good crosser? Make him cross more often then. Is he crossing to the point where he's doing it too much and your guy's not winning the headers and it's wasting the pass when he could be passing someone else? Take it off. Be mindful of what you're watching. And then obviously we get into striker, and striker's an interesting one because you can make him tackle harder, which is quite good. But obviously pressing forward has that anyway. Moves into channels has that anyway on advanced forward, but false nine doesn't. It stays quite centrally. Again, I might mess around with moves into channels on him too. Also, some attacking systems like advanced forward, they don't really do more dribbling or less dribbling. It's sort of quite customizable advanced forward, especially when the player has the ball. You can make him dribble less if he's more of a poacher type. You can make him shoot more, obviously, if he's better at shooting. And if he's a shit passer, just take fewer risks. And then what he'll do is he'll just lay it off. He'll not try anything ridiculous. But I've got Baldanzi, and he's a false nine, and he's really good at through balls. So that's automatically there, right? If he starts shooting more often, I'll just do that. If I want him to shoot more often, just do that, right? It sounds really tough, and a lot of people get scared when they go into player instructions. I'm not suggesting you change every single thing, like you have to tackle hard or you have to ease off tackles. Sometimes it's fine just leaving it, but if you see something, make sure you change it, or at least make sure you've clocked it and have a plan of, oh, if that happens again, I might want to do this, and then that'll impact this guy, etc., etc. Like hold up ball, maybe we could cover that, and it's stuff like if you've got a guy who's strong, think like a Pogba type player, because sometimes you can have like midfielders that hold up ball if you want to bait in press, and he's got good agility, good technique, good strength. Big like Bellingham would be good at hold up ball, I'd imagine as well, because he'll hold it up and then he'll just burst past people. Because he's fantastic, he's brilliant at everything. There's just so many things to do, and I get it's quite overwhelming. But things like aim crosses as well. Have you got a good crosser of the ball at right back? If you have, Do you have a tall striker? If so, aim crosses at centre. If you have a tall left winger, aim your crosses at the far post. All these things you've got to think about. What you've got to do is you've got to find the strengths in your team and play to them. I know it sounds ridiculously obvious, but there is many ways to do that. And also on the other side of things, like I mentioned before, you also have to negate the weaknesses that you guys see. So the biggest advice in this video, what I would suggest is when you're building a tactic, have a plan, put it into action of what you think, right? And then when you're watching the game, pause it at different intervals. Like I said, pause it when your team has the ball in defense, when your team has the ball in midfield, when your team has the ball up around the edge of the box, when their team has the ball after they just won it from you or you've just lost it, and when their team has ball in secured possession. So like they're just knocking it around. See what your guys are doing. That is my biggest advice from this video. The other thing to note, dynamic screen. If you're on a pre-season and you're signing loads of players, and this is in the red, right? This is red, and these aren't green thumbs up. These are yellow thumbs down. Just wait. Don't scrap the tactic. Just wait until this is green, because it isn't a true representation of your tactic until they're green. I know it sounds ridiculous, but again, I'm going to mention it on my stream save when I'm Valencia. We had a rough start to season 2 because I signed too many players, and this went into the red. It was really inconsistent. We were conceding stupid goals. As soon as this went to green and the players started understanding each other a bit more, we're on one. I'm top of the league now. And so this is really important, team cohesion. So in pre-season, if this is going down and it's heading into the red zone, stop signing players. Literally, it's really important. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Like I said at the start, please hit the subscription button. It is free and it'll help me out. And there's 80% of you guys not doing it. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you then. Goodbye.